A lot of people believe that their money problems are solely caused by math. Not enough income, too much debt, too many expenses. And sometimes that's true. But after talking to over 1 million people about money, I've realized that most of us are following rules that we never consciously chose. Rules like spending money is bad. When I finally hit $1 million, then I'll feel safe. These rules shape your decisions whether you realize it or not. And most of these rules were not even created by you. You inherited them from your parents or social media or some random freak who wears an Under Armour polo shirt and shorts writing on a whiteboard about his whole life insurance policy. So today I want to unpack some of the biggest invisible money scripts keeping people stuck. I think one of the deepest money scripts people carry around is this idea that if you spend money, you are bad. And you can hear it in the way people talk. It's usually somebody in their 20s or 30s. Maybe they got their first job. They're living in Brooklyn or Chicago. People will go back to work on Monday and they'll say, oh, how's the weekend? And somebody will be like, I was really bad. I need to be good next month. I need to save money. As if spending money is bad and saving money is good. If it were really that simple, you'd probably be saving more money because you like to think of yourself as a good person. So why do you keep spending? Because maybe spending and saving are not good and bad, just the way that eating ice cream is not good or bad. It's just ice cream. We like buying things. We like experiences. We like going away for the weekend. I like this sweater. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, I want you to spend more on the things you love. But somewhere along the way, you absorb this idea that spending money is morally defective. Why? Funny, by the way, that it's rarely a guy talking about his F-350 saying, oh, I bought this F-350 with a TCO of $125,000. I'm bad. Never. It's weddings, bags, makeup, self-care, typically things that women buy. Kind of weird, isn't it? I remember once I was on somebody's podcast. She had this beautiful light brown caramel colored bag sitting next to her. Gorgeous. And we were talking about spending extravagantly, et cetera, et cetera. And I asked her, hey, that's a really nice bag. When did you get it? And she immediately tensed up and got uncomfortable. She said something like, well, I didn't pay full price. I mean, I do love it. It makes me feel so good. But like I got it for it was actually kind of I said, what was that word? Frivolous. It's fascinating because women constantly describe the things that they spend money on as frivolous. But again, you never heard a guy talk about spending $8,000 on tools and calling them frivolous. No. There's utility for my wrench. So I called her on it immediately. I said, wait a second. Do you love the bag? She said, yes. I said, can you afford that bag? She said, yes. So what's the problem? I want us to get rid of this moralistic black and white thinking around money. If you love something and you can afford it, amazing. Of course you should get it. If you can't afford it, that's a problem. So let's make a plan. Maybe it's going to take you 6 months to save. Maybe it's going to take 6 years, but that is still a healthy relationship with money if you are saving money and you know your key numbers. The goal is not to spend $0. The goal is to live a rich life. There's an interesting shift that happens when you start earning a lot more money. The questions that you ask change. Like you might stop asking, can I afford this? And instead start asking, am I doing the right thing with my money? And this is where many high earners can lose tens of thousands of dollars because they don't know how taxes work, the ins and outs. They might have a random accountant they email once a year, they upload a few PDFs, and that's basically it. But that is not a strategy, that is reactive. And that is why I partnered with Gelt. Gelt is a modern CPA firm that specializes in high-income earners and business owners year-round, not just during tax season. Here's what makes them different. A proactive tax plan tied to your goals, cash flow, and P&L, guidance on credit deductions and entity setup to optimize your structure, and a clean, modern platform that keeps everything organized and on track. If you are making multiple six figures or running a business and you don't have a proactive tax strategy, you're probably overpaying. And that's not a $3 problem, that's a $30,000 plus problem. So if you want to see what a real tax strategy looks like, visit joingelt.com/Ramit to schedule your consultation today. You can scan the QR code on screen or click the link in the description below. My parents did it, so why can't I? This is a really emotionally loaded money script that people carry. Many of you had parents that bought a house at 25, and so now they look at you renting at 32, 38, 42, and a lot of times they think you're irresponsible. Just work harder. We did it. We had 17% interest rate. You'll figure it out. Okay, let's actually look at the numbers because this conversation gets very interesting very quickly. What I always recommend is do not argue emotionally when it comes to things like this. Use actual math. So ask your parents, how much did you pay for your house? And usually they'll say something that's so absurd sounding, you almost can't believe it. You're like, I spent that much on a latte yesterday. What the are you talking about? But they're your parents. Thank you, mom. Thank you, dad. So then you ask them, how much were you making at the time? And they'll tell you some number. Now adjust both of those for inflation. You know, if they were making $25,000 in 1977, just type that in to Google and you'll find out how much that is today. Suddenly you're going to realize something shocking. Their housing costs were often a much smaller percentage of their income compared to today. Meanwhile, somebody making a solid income today is likely completely priced out of buying in the exact same area. And you got to show your parents this. Now you have a choice. You can do it nicely or you can emotionally destroy them. Let me give you both. If you want to do it nicely, you say, you know what? I can understand that when you were growing up, this is how much you spent. And this is how much it costs to buy a house. And I know that, you know, you had one income or you had two income and that was probably a big deal, right? And they're like, yes, yes. And if you look at the ratio here, that was something like a 3-to-1 ratio. But if you look at how much it costs today with the median price of a house and my income, that ratio is double what it was. Can you imagine paying double for your house back then? That's what I'm facing today. As for the emotional destruction way, maybe I'll leave that for a different video. If you all want to see that, just type emotional destruction below. Now, what does this mean about your parents' financial advice? You have to understand that a lot of it is wildly outdated and that many of them are not financial experts themselves. They basically did what most Americans did. They got a job. A lot of them stayed there. Maybe they have a pension. They bought a house because that's what they were told to do. And their house, because of a variety of reasons, primarily NIMBYism, went up in price. And so now they go, well, I'm a genius. Just follow what I did. But they don't understand that the world has changed, including housing, wages, education. And if you are blindly following old money rules without adjusting for today's reality, of course you're going to constantly feel like you're failing. But you're not failing. You're trying to apply 1985 rules to 2026 problems. Myth number 3, when I hit my number, I will finally feel safe. This is a big one. People really believe there's going to be some magical number where all of their money worries disappear. I don't feel anxious anymore because the decimal place ticked up 1, $100,000, $1 million, you're debt free, whatever. I remember I believed it too. I remember opening up my investment account, seeing over $1 million for the first time. And I genuinely thought it was going to be like the Lion King. No, unfortunately, that didn't happen. Nobody clapped, the clouds didn't open up, and Rafiki was not there holding me up to the sun. That's not how it worked. I walked outside, I was still exactly the same person, and it actually shocked me because I had spent years building up this fantasy in my head without ever asking myself, what do I actually think is going to happen when I hit this number? And so many of us do this. We are so episodically driven. You know, we tell ourselves things like, if I get this job, I'll finally feel safe. If I make this amount, I'll finally relax. If we pay off our debt, everything will feel different. Then you get there and realize, oh, I'm still me. You know, as they say, wherever you go, there you are. Well, the way that you feel about your money is highly uncorrelated to the amount in your bank account. And that's actually really hard for people to hear because many of you have gone your entire lives thinking, if I just get X, then I will finally feel Y. But we all know that's not true. You know somebody making a lot more money than you are who is still stressed out all the time. They're still acting like everything's about to collapse. That's because building a rich life has 2 parts. First, yes, you need to know your numbers. You need to know your fixed costs, your savings rate, your investment rate, and your guilt-free spending number. You need to know your numbers cold. But the second part is psychology. You've got to understand your relationship with money and systematically work on improving it. And I can tell you point blank, almost nobody works on this. In America, we systematically undervalue psychology and emotions. Y'all have been watching my stuff for 20 years, and many of you still think, if I just increase this number by 2/3, then I'll feel good. How many times have I told you? The way you feel about money is highly uncorrelated to the amount in your bank account. You go, yeah, for those other stupid people. But me, it's so rational. I just need to increase my net worth. Let me tell you something. You are no different than anybody else. In fact, for the first time in your life, you're going to hear something that your mom should have told you a long time ago. You're not special. Neither am I. All of us are human, and we are subject to the same forces that everybody else around us is. Now, maybe, for example, I can take a little bit more stress than the average person, but I can still crack. If you are in debt, for example, you can actually live a pretty rich life. You can still enjoy life while working to be debt-free. You don't need to put your entire life on hold, but you do need to confront and improve your relationship with money. I find that people who have started on their personal finance journey sometimes do not know when they have done enough. Like they'll constantly ask, what did I miss? I need to read 10 more subreddits. What about this one obscure thing that might happen? And it doesn't feel good to constantly worry that you got something wrong. That is exactly why we created Road to 100K. For most people, reaching your first $100,000 invested is a massive financial milestone. It's often the point where you stop feeling like you are guessing because you can finally see that the decisions you've made are really starting to add up. Inside Road to 100K, you will get a personalized path based on your actual numbers, not generic advice. You'll see exactly where you stand today, what's holding you back, and what to focus on next. You will also get access to live coaching and a community of people working towards the same goal. If you are ready to start making real progress towards $100,000 invested, scan the QR code on screen or click the link below to learn about Road to 100K. Myth number 4, I'll just ignore my debt. Now, nobody says this out loud, but many people actually do this. Debt carries so much shame for people, and shame is one of the things that makes you avoid it. Very few of us feel shame and then directly confront the problem. When it comes to debt, we stop opening our bills, we stop checking our balances, we stop logging into our accounts. And after a while, we start feeling shame about not logging into our accounts. But in my experience, once you finally look at the numbers, the situation is usually far more manageable than you'd imagine. Because once you take an honest look at the numbers, we can actually make a plan. So I tell people, pull up every debt, credit cards, student loans, car loans, mortgage, everything, and write down 3 numbers: your balance, your interest rate, and your minimum payment. Already, you've taken back control. And if you don't know where to find those numbers, call up the place that you owe the money to. Make them do the work and give you those numbers. Now we put them into a debt payoff calculator. You can search Ramit Sethi calculators and use my calculators. They're free online. Now you can see the future. Oh, wow, if I keep paying this amount, it'll take me 18 years to be debt-free. Okay, 18 years might sound like a long time. First of all, you're gonna be 18 years older no matter what. You might as well be debt-free. But what if we start getting a little bit more aggressive? What if you add $100 a month to those payments? Suddenly you're shaving off years from your debt payoff date. What if you add an extra $200? Now we're shaving off even more. And that's the moment that people realize, oh my God, this debt is actually in my control. And that shift changes everything, because now you don't have to feel hopeless anymore. Another invisible script that we carry is this idea that fixing our finances means turning ourselves into some kind of austerity-driven monk. No restaurants, no coffee, no Netflix, and no fun. So puritanical, isn't it? You can hear the frustration when people talk about it. I am done going out. I'm having no spend November. I'm canceling everything. All right, but how long do you think that's gonna last? I don't really find those type of 1-month games to be particularly moving, because nobody sustainably says no to everything forever. In fact, we work hard. We wanna go out sometimes. We wanna enjoy a movie, a restaurant. We wanna see our friends, and there's nothing wrong with that. The real issue is that people often have no idea where their money is going. So what do? Instead of taking a really holistic view of their finances, they feel bad about everything and they start hacking away at tiny expenses. 5% here, 5% there. But meanwhile, they're spending $1,200 a month on a car they barely even think about. So I ask people, how much are you spending total for your car or cars? Not just the monthly payment, but the insurance, gas, parking, registration, maintenance. Turns out almost nobody knows. And the second that we actually look at the real numbers, suddenly the conversation changes. People realize they could cut back 5% on the pickles they eat every month, and it would not make a dent compared to how much they are spending on 2 major areas: housing and vehicles, and of course, eating out. Now, I'm not telling you to stop eating out. If that's what you think I'm here for, you're on the wrong channel, my friends. I like to eat out. I don't mind it. But what if instead of constantly just going out and buying things because you're hungry on the way back from work, what if instead you said, okay, Wednesday lunch, I'm gonna go here. Friday night, I'm getting tacos with my friends. And Sunday, I'm taking myself out for ramen. In other words, you plan ahead. You are conscious about when you're gonna eat out and what you're gonna eat out instead of simply randomly going there. In this way, you can actually enjoy the food that you eat out more, and you can hit your numbers in your guilt-free spending. I think this is the part people miss when they hear me talk about money dials. They hear me talk about cut costs mercilessly, and they often skip over the spend extravagantly on the things you love. Those two concepts go hand in hand together. Once you stop blindly following everybody else's money rules, something really powerful happens. You get to create your own. And that's actually the perfect transition into the last idea I want to leave you with. Choose your own rules. Many of us inherited our money beliefs from our parents, our friends, our religion, online. And a lot of those beliefs are just not right for us. Like when I was in college, the primary overriding belief about money is don't spend money. Don't buy lattes, don't buy jeans, don't go on vacation, don't do anything. I said, that. I'm trying to live an awesome life. I'm trying to go out to Taco Tuesday and travel and go to New York and have fun. You think I'm gonna let your rules dictate what kind of life I have? In what world? So I created my own. And I am here for the last 20 plus years to show you how to create your own rules for your rich life, because you get to decide what matters to you. If you wanna learn how to stop feeling bad about money, watch this video right here on the exact system I use to help people change their relationship with money in 30 days.